Hey everyone, my name is Quenisha Cowan, also known as Nisha Cowan. This is my video for industrial organizational psychology. So let's get started. So essentially, there are several ways that research and practice has been influenced over the course of the past few years. For example, one of the biggest changes I think that we've had in businesses and organizations is, of course, COVID-19. After COVID-19, employees were during COVID-19, employers had to find a way to still continue to serve their clients while also protecting their employees and also following state guidelines regarding COVID. So during the COVID-19, we see a lot of technology advances. And what this looked like is meetings were now held maybe over Zoom or Microsoft Teams. There were also a lot of, you know, a lot of daily check-ins with supervisors. I know from my standpoint in working for the state, we had several protocols we had to go through. And then technology also became our biggest platform for communication, especially with also our clients and ensuring that we were protecting them, and also ensuring that we were still meeting deadlines, meeting goals, and so forth. We also seen during COVID-19 that a lot of employee assistance programs developed because of the mental health decline. During those times, I know I can only speak for myself, but I know my job started free counseling services for individuals who needed that additional help or needed that additional assistance during COVID-19, because we were kind of quarantined, and they provided that online structure once again, which utilized Microsoft Teams to help. Our assistance program is called EAP, which is exactly what it stands for, Employee Assistance Programs, that encompasses counseling, and also encompasses different resources to help, like with work and situations and so forth. I believe that if we look in our text, we can see that Jex and Brett highlight throughout the chapters one of the main important concepts of working for an organization is to be able to accept the new challenges and to accept the new work dynamics that may come with that particular job. I really want to emphasize again that when we look at how things have changed over time, we see that change in technology, which is what I think is one of the biggest changes throughout our text. So moving on to the next point of view. If I were a manager, if I were assisting the hiring manager for trying to recruit a more diverse and inclusive set of faculty, I would probably broaden my search and my outreach efforts. So what this would look like is, I would probably connect with academic networks that offer diversity and inclusion programs. So like, for example, let's just take Liberty, for example, or we can even use my old college, North Greenville University, because I worked on campus. So a lot of times what we would do is a lot of faculties, professors already within programs, if they knew you, if they were looking for something specific, essentially what they would do is they would go inside of that program to kind of offer, throw around, or inform rising graduates of opportunities that could be coming available for them. And at North Greenville University, one of the biggest things that they wanted to work towards was diversity and inclusion. And so essentially what that also looked like was surveying the campus, right? So one way we could help this hiring manager would be to survey your current faculty members. Why don't we have inclusion or diversity, or what could we do to heighten inclusion or diversity, or what policies could we possibly put in place? And these are all things that we could take from those surveys from current employees, especially those that are part of the diversity and inclusion, to see like how can we welcome new staff to broaden that. So that would be my advice to give to our hiring manager. I will also offer maybe updating the job description. So lessons include statements about diversity and inclusion. Let's say how we plan to implement that on the campus for that faculty member. Let's have them know that, hey, this is not just something we're throwing out, but this is the steps we plan to take to also hold the employee accountable for that as well, and not just the employer and not just the employee accountable. I think that is very, very major in jobs in organizations, is that when we see job descriptions, a lot of the information in that is basically on what the employee has to do, right? But if we're trying to recruit more people as an employer, I think a great suggestion to this hiring manager could possibly be to update the job description with ways that they will also be held accountable. So moving into the next question. So some ways we could reduce the work-family conflict is to one, just ensure communication with the employee is clear and precise. This is very important. When you go into a situation with an employee and the organization or employer are very straightforward what their expectations are, what the goals are, what the expectations from you are, I feel like this completely alleviates a lot of confusion and stress on that employee, especially if the employer is being transparent about things. And it can also allow for that employee to prepare properly, especially on the weeks they know they might have a little extra more work to prepare for versus the last, and so forth, to be able to balance. Another way we could help with the work-family conflict is to provide and conduct regular check-ins. I know this is something my employer does. We do them bi-weekly, individually, and then 3 times monthly as a team. So having the employee come in and meet with the supervisor to say, hey, this is what my challenges are, this is what I'm facing, this is what's going on, to allow the employer to help, right? Because as a supervisor, sometimes we have to step in and help. We have to get on the ground and help our employees with anything they might need help with, and this could alleviate the work-family conflict and not having them take any work home if not necessary. Another thing we could do is offer flexible work from home, flexible work schedules. So essentially, some jobs may require you to be in office just because of the job, such as like manufacturing jobs, of course. But let's just say if you have a job that can allow you to work from home, seeing if it's possible to allow the employee to work from home to alleviate some of that stress of the drive to there, the drive back, and so forth. I think this is major, especially now, like as we stated before, with technology advances, right? If you're able to produce the same amount of work that you are able to produce in the office, also at home, and also to fulfill your job description at home, I think offering those flexible work hours would be great, and it would help alleviate some of that work-family conflict. Most importantly, I think it's important for organizations to show appreciation for their employees and let them know how unique they are to the company, right? Because essentially, companies can't just run, by themselves. So I think it's important to just show recognition and give credit when it's due. It goes a long way for employees within an organization. So moving on, organizational citizenship behaviors, OCBs, are important to any job function as they contribute to the organization's effectiveness and improving teamwork, morale, and overall productivity, according to Jakes and Britt. So essentially, our OCBs are very important for us. Are very important for us because we see these in job descriptions, right? So our general OCBs would be like our trustworthy employees, our employees who are dependable and relatable. So what our textbook suggests is that our employees go a little bit further than that, right? We want to, of course, have employees that display those traits, but like, what does that look like? So in this particular example, I just decided to use my job currently as a child welfare caseworker. And so if you go on our state website, you'll see like all this information. And then you scroll to the bottom and you see a description. In that description, you see general OBCs, as we talked about. But you also see words such as high caseloads, and stuff, and meeting deadlines, but nothing like in particular. And looking from the outside in, if I were someone on the website and I seen, okay, high caseloads and then strict deadlines, I would kind of be immediately like, I don't know about that. So one way I believe that we could fix my job description website in the job description is, one, let's define high caseloads, right? So maybe if we took out high caseloads and add like words such as child welfare requires a delicate amount of time and a large caseload, sometimes. However, you also will have the support of your supervisor to assist with those caseloads, right? And then like as far as you would have the support from leadership. The job description, as I said it before, is like when it says like strict deadlines, I really, really do think we should have wording in there such as, it is expected of you to complete like all dictation, court reports, supplemental reports, or, anything of that nature by the last business day of the month. To not scare employees away, right? But to encourage them like, hey, like we do have deadlines, but you have until the end of the month to get it done. And it's not impossible. And you do have that support of leadership. So I definitely think those were the two major things that needed to be changed in our job description on the website, to maybe invite or maybe feel a little bit more welcome and supported while reading that. And then lastly, as we discussed, without having the specifics for this particular situation, there are a number of constraints that could be occurring for the counterproductive work behavior, which will be referred to as CWB in this video. So for one, the employees may not feel safe in their work environment, which is causing them to leave early. This does not mean, just physically safe, but employees could also feel like the company is engaging in risky practices, which could, affect them also morally. Secondly, we could examine the turnover. Rate, right? So if there's high turnover rate, you can expect an employee to kind of be burnt out if all the extra work is being put on them and their peers, which could be, causing causing the employees to work fewer hours than they were originally designed to work because they just might be burnt out. Another thing we can look at in this situation is a way to fix this, essentially. A way to provide a safe environment is honestly to foster great relationships, to ensure that employees are heard, to not make employees feel judged, to ensure that employees feel safe to address any concerns, and to also address the issue of employees being burnt out, just to providing that support, right? Because essentially we can never predict when someone leaves. However, as leadership, if we are in place and doing what we're supposed to do to assist our staff, we could alleviate some of that burnout from staff. And to also A third point we can also maybe take from this, one of the constraints could be maybe the group of employees that are leaving feel like they're not being treated as fairly when it comes to decision making as others in the company. And to do this, we must, to address this issue in particular, as an organization, we must ensure that we're holding all employees accountable who are all under that job description. So, for example, like as a case worker, as a case manager for the state, right? We need to make sure we're all holding those foster care workers accountable. Like family preservation, we're holding them accountable, and so forth and so forth. I just feel like it is very important that as employers and organizations, that if employees start to see you treating a particular group differently than another one, there could be some repercussions, such as leaving early, and not working as many hours as you signed up for because you just don't feel like you're heard, which kind of goes again and plays into the safe environment. So this concludes my video. I do appreciate you taking the time to listen, and thanks.